have like I have a pretty fat neck, so like
Oh,
You're
same
just so
here.
muscular.
so
I don't know
so
if I can close this up.
You
no
just
see
do.
when I no for me
Look at
like
me,
when
I'm
shopping,
Alex. I'm so buff.
I'm doing the Conor McGregor walk.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Teachers Talk podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about how we connect with our students, because obviously that is a very important part of teaching. You need to get to know your students in order to teach them. So with that said, Alex and David here are going to help me out and just talk about this. So Alex, go ahead. Tell us, how do you connect with your students?
I have one word for you: memes.
Nice.
Kids love memes. I'm kind of out of us three. I'm kind of fortunate that I'm only 23, and I was in high school most recently compared to all three of us, and I'm still like I kind of caught the rear end of the social media age explosion, and this next generation of high schoolers is kind of immersed right in the middle of it, especially with coronavirus and a lot of free time in their hands. Kids go on YouTube, Instagram, they're exploring Reddit, which I know all three of us love Reddit, different parts of Google, Bing, and so on. And so I just connect kids with memes. Like they think retro stuff is funny. They think when I talk when I make like SpongeBob references, it's hilarious. It's like, sir, you're too old for SpongeBob. It's like, guys, don't get it twisted. When you were in your diapers, I was 9 years old watching SpongeBob. Okay, and so like just jokes or something that's socially relevant or something that's you know something that kind of elicits a sense of comfort for them. So when I make a joke like a Scooby-Doo joke or like there's like a meme about Drake or something, all kids love Drake, and most kids do, and so they just feel comfortable about it. And they know that I'm there to actually try to share knowledge with them and not just be boss around and be mean to them, right? So like I'm there for the purpose of teaching them, and of course memes are a good way of connecting it. Jokes, anything that makes them laugh. A couple of them told me, sir, we're gonna get a shirt that says I can't remember what the meme was, but it's like we're gonna get a shirt and then it's gonna say Mr. Sturback said this. I was like, guys, do it, please. I'll pay for the delivery, but
Nice.
So yeah, there you go. Memes.
Yeah. No, sweet.
Wonderful.
Yeah. David, go ahead.
Connect with my students. So every Monday we have the little tell me about what you did on your weekend and/or tell me anything that excited happened. I'll share as well something exciting happened, even though most of the time nothing exciting happens to me. I try to come up with something that I did do that was exciting. We also have attendance questions almost every day. Learn a little bit about students' hobbies, what they like to do, just almost anything in general. What kind of music they like, what kind of books they like to read, what's their favorite thing to learn about in another subject. Just anything you can think of. I sometimes even let them create their own questions, which is always fun. And then really just building off some of my students' energy sometimes. I know sometimes my students are very sleepy, they're very tired, they're kind of like, I don't really want to talk much, sir. So just kind of, building off how much energy they give me and kind of sometimes letting them have a little more free reign if they're not feeling as up to it. If we have extra time, that's about
Yeah.
it.
No, I mean, that's great. And I think your idea of like an attendance question is great. I do the same thing. So what I do with my students is I have 24 students in my class. Well, roughly there's about 20 to 25 days every month that you're teaching. So what I do is I give each of them the task of creating an attendance question. And most recently, the language unit that we've been working on has been debates. So, Coke or Pepsi? What's your favorite fast food brand? Should cell phones be allowed in the classroom? Whatever, doesn't matter. So I give my students each a task. I say, you each have to create one attendance question for like this day. So everyone gets a turn throughout the month. And then we have like a 5 to 10 minute debate at the start of the day about that. And students are engaged. I get to hear what they like, get a lot of information about them, especially like what fast food do they like? What are they allergic to? What are they interested in? What do they think is cool? What do they not think is cool? Or what do they not care about? You can find out a lot from students. So that is just like one cool thing that I do. I think also I like to ask them, so for science, because again, primarily a science teacher, I'll generally start the science class with just a roundtable discussion. Ask me any question you want and I'll answer it and we can have a discussion about it for like 5-10 minutes. So we talked about like blood typing. We've talked about various parts of like physiology, or like, why does this happen if I do this, right? Or we've talked about different personality standpoints, the meaning behind dreams or how to lucid dream. And we've just had so many cool conversations that you can really find out, again, what students are interested in. And I think you're giving them information that they want to hear and know more about. So they're sort of more drawn to you. They see you more like as a figure who like connects with them. They're, they can see you're giving them information. They can see that you're caring about what they're bringing forth to you. And then they're getting information out of it that they're just super pumped for. So either way, that's sort of how I get to know my students. I think it's actually really, really cool. But what about you two? Like, do you have any other methods that you use outside of like attendance questions or just like random questions?
I literally wrote down create an attendance question. Like I literally wrote it down. Like I was like busy over here, doing something over here, so I was literally writing it down. I mean, what I would try to do is over the course of lunchtime, I would try to sit with them, not necessarily with them like where the students sit, but I had 30 before I had 30 before the option to go home online was offered. So then I had about 17. But when I had all 30, about half of them would stay for lunch. And I would just sit at the front, and the kids, they would tell me about their day. Sir, I did this last week. I did this. I went to see this movie. What did you think of this? And kind of just giving them like an open floor to discuss whatever.
Yeah.
Because as we've talked about a lot off camera, it's been tough time for kids. It's hard for teenagers to necessarily rationalize things, to be objective about them and say, okay, I got to focus on this, or whatever. And so kind of just let them have the floor, right? Let them tell me about whatever. Let them show me a funny video. Sir, can we watch this on YouTube? I'm like, is it class appropriate? Well, yes. I'm like, okay. And then it will be like, I don't know, a turtle and a tutu sitting on a ping pong paddle or something ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, like I'm sitting at the front desk eating my own lunch. But if they have something to share with me or something to tell me, give them the floor, right? They need to be comfortable with the idea that I'm also a person beyond just a teacher. Yes, I'm there to teach you. Yes, there's a respect factor, but I'm just a regular person like you as well. So feel free
Yeah.
to share stuff with me.
And I'm actually going to jump in here on that. Like, I do think also that it's important that your students get to know your interests. So whenever I'm doing my self-introduction at the start of a term and getting to talk to them, I'm always telling them about my interests. So I'm telling them like, I love cooking. I love anime and manga. I love video games. I have a dog, right? Like blah, blah, blah. So all my students sort of get to see this, and then they start going, I have a dog too. Hey, sir, what video games do you play? Hey, like, what about this? What about that? What's your top 5 favorite animes? We just have conversations based off that. And then I slowly get to know them. But one other thing that I do, and this is more getting to know their names. So generally on the first day, I'll let them sit with whoever they want. And then what I do is there's this thing online called Super Teacher Tools. So I'll go there and I have my class list for my different courses, and I'll make random groups every day of like 4 or 5 people. And I'll cycle them in and out, and I'll find out, okay, well, who works well with who? Like, do certain people have certain conversations that are just like very productive? Are certain people very destructive when you put them together? And you learn their names a lot quicker, and you can learn a lot more about their personalities and, again, who they work well with. So I found Super Teacher Tools to be pretty cool. And again, I do that for a lot of my assignments. Sometimes I'll do flexible groupings where I'll let them decide their own groups. But sometimes, depending on their age or maturity, that is not always the best decision. Sometimes you need to sort of be a little more structured. So I'll put into Super Teacher Tools, I'll make random groups, and then I'll move groups around if there's like, 3 people who I know aren't going to do work are paired together. I will move them around so that way I have a couple people who will do work in one group, and then that will balance out the strength of the groups. Anyways, just little ways to get around it. I'm going to go to David, and then we'll probably wrap this podcast up after. So David, one more way that you get to know your students?
One more way. During free time, I usually get around, walk around the class, just check in with students, check in with groups, see if anyone has any, I guess in terms of material questions, but I also include if they'd like to ask me a personal question,
Yeah.
to give them the option just to get to know me a little better. Because I think there's a lot in not just getting to know your students, but them getting to know you. So
For sure.
that's something I also like to do. I try to share, I guess, some personal experiences when I'm teaching as well. So I was teaching about astronomy and the cost and benefits of space exploration a couple weeks ago, and I talked about how growing up I wanted to be an astronaut, and obviously that path didn't work out. I went from civil engineering to teacher, not to astronaut. But some of my students were like, "Mr. Beck, don't worry, we'll send you some money in case you still want to get to space one day." They're like, "We'll give you some of our extra money." I was like, "Wow, thank you for that." But I don't know how much they have towards, what is it, millions of dollars to go to space, or is it $250,000?
Yeah, it's something like that. But no, like I do think that is actually really good. And I do think that right before we end, there's one more way to get to know students. And personally, I think it's the best one. I can't believe we didn't touch on it yet, but it's more a product of the situation that we're in. And that is extracurriculars. You really get to know students through extracurriculars. Unfortunately, this year, not many are going on. So I think that's why it sort of lasted this late, but you'll get to see students doing clubs and hobbies and their interests. And then you can be involved in that as a teacher as well. So definitely a good way to get to know your students and for the students to get to know you and what you care about. But with that said, I'm going to end the podcast there. So have a great day. Stay happy, safe, and healthy, and enjoy. And if you enjoyed the podcast, please like and subscribe to the channel, as it does help us grow our community and makes us bigger, better, and stronger. So enjoy, everyone. See you all around. Bye.
Or I give solutions that they really don't want. One of my kids was like, "This person's bugging me." So I moved his desk like up to the very front of the class. So he was by himself, not near anyone. And he's like, "No, no, no, sir, no, never mind. They're not bothering me at all." And I was like, don't ask for solutions you don't want.
Yeah.